right. Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you're able to make it. Join us today. This is the private practice office hours. If you have not logged into one of these before, let me just give you a quick introduction. It's pretty chill. People just come, they log in into YouTube, and then you ask questions, whatever questions you might have. It could be about group practice, individual practice. You can drop them into the chat. And as people do, I'll just go ahead and answer, all the questions that come through, as best as I can. The reason why I do this is because when I was starting my private practice, I found it hard to connect with a real person and ask questions. I mean, you have to go onto forums and all sorts of things. And so I just wanted to provide a place where people can ask questions and log in and get questions answered, get pointed in the right direction. So that's what this is all about. I already have some questions coming in, so we'll go ahead and start answering those. And if you haven't been here before, it would be awesome if you could subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's a place where I make tons of videos. I try to make one a week, and I make it very practical and actionable. That's kind of my intention. A lot of information about private practice is gate kept and really heavily guarded, and I try to open those doors up for people, make the information accessible. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That'd be really helpful. Also, my computer's a little old, so it makes very loud noises. If you hear it like a humming, it's my computer. I apologize for that. And if my camera comes out of focus, I also apologize. It might kind of catch onto this microphone here. But let's go ahead and let's start answering questions. All right, so let's see. A couple already came in. All right, let's go. And they should pop up on the screen. Here we go. Actually, I can't. What? Give me 1 second. I can't actually read the question. Let's see. Okay. I have a question for people who are licensed in many states aside from New York. Not sure if you are. I am. I'm licensed in both New York and New Jersey. But do you also need to get separate liability coverage? This is a great question. For me personally, what I did as soon as I was licensed in both states, I called up my current liability insurance company. I actually used the NASW Assurance. Sorry, it looks like my camera is going to go in and out a little bit. I use NASW Assurance. They're tailored to therapists, and I just told them I'm licensed in 2 states. They were fine with it. They were able to, provide coverage for both states. So most likely, if you just let your current liability insurance provider know, it should be no problem. Just make sure to tell them, and then they'll point you in the right direction. Hopefully that answers your question there. Another question, do you need a registered agent for a service location for that specific state? It's another great question. I believe the answer is yes. So for example, I have a group practice. I have one of my employees, who is in Texas. And because we have a provider who's living in Texas, I needed a registered agent, for that state. But if you're just simply licensed in another state, like you yourself, I don't know if you need a registered agent. I think that's really going to depend on where you're doing business. So for people who might be confused, when you start a PLLC or a corporate, a business entity, you have the option of selecting a registered agent. This is basically people who can, could be a company, a person that basically gets mail on your behalf, not just any mail, but basically if you get, I don't know, if important information comes in from the state about your business entity or something like that, it will go to a registered agent, and it doesn't have to be you. So it's basically this intermediary, and that's just, I'm putting it really simply. And a benefit of a registered agent is that they have a different address than you. And then also they're going to receive correspondences that you could possibly miss that are really important. Now, this typically has to do with where your business is located, right? So my business, my private practice is incorporated in New York State, so my registered agent is there. But after consulting with a tax professional and accountant, because I have a staff member in Texas, I also had to have a registered agent there. But it wasn't to do with our licensing. It had to do with where our business was established and where we were doing business. So that's how you want to think about registered agent. My advice to people when it comes to registered agent and business stuff is to connect with a company that knows all about this stuff. So I know a little bit as I've gone through the process, and I'm kind of pointing you in that direction. But a company I worked with, and they don't sponsor me in any way. They don't even know I make these videos. It's called Capital Services. They're really good. They help, they can help you establish a business entity. They'll answer questions. They're just a really great company to work with. So if you have really specific questions, they can help you out. Capital Services. I'll leave a link in the description. I see a couple new people are joining us. Welcome. We're simply just going through questions here, answering questions that are coming in. If you haven't been here before, you can just type your question, anything you got, in the chat. This is a space where you can answer questions, and hopefully I can answer or at least point you in the right direction. All right, let's see. Okay, I reside in New York City, but I'm licensed in Connecticut and Massachusetts. Also, I'm assuming we need to update our CAQH with those states. A million thank yous for any questions you are able to answer. Yeah, I mean, basically anything you're doing, whether it be licensed in a particular state or your CAQH needs to reflect that, right? So yeah, any updates that you do to your practice, whether it be a new license or something like that, make sure the CAQH reflects that. For those of you who don't know the CAQH, it's basically I don't know what I would call it. It's not a form, but it's like an application or some sort of, it's like you have a CAQH profile, and this is how you get paneled with insurance providers. They usually make you sign up with these, or kind of fill out the CAQH, and that's where they pull a lot of your information. Whether you're with Alma or Headway, they actually have a CAQH, they do it for you, or whether you panel on your own, you need a CAQH profile. It's one profile, all the insurers pull from it. So you want to make sure that information is valid and updated. All right. Great question. Let's see here. I think there might be other questions, but I'm having a hard time pulling it up. Why does this happen? We're going to clear. Okay. Good to see you as well. I'm glad you're logged in, listening in. Cool. So let's see. So I'm going to be checking my emails for more questions that come through. Yeah, the way it works is just keep firing your questions away. We'll answer them. It's a space where you can do that. Right now, there's no additional questions in the chat, and basically, I'll hang out. I'll hang out until the questions stop rolling in. If you're just listening in, glad to have you here. But yeah, also I noticed my camera's cutting in and out. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. So yeah, while we have a pause, grab a cup of coffee, get something to drink. Think about your questions, ask them. Let's see here. All right, and also in the meantime, just a couple other resources for you that I've been putting together. I just released a new video today. The videos about all of the services and tools I use in my private practice. We actually it's about a 15-minute video. I walk you through every single service that I use, whether it be Psychology Today, Alma, the Simple Practice, this kind of thing. And because I know there's a lot of tools out there, a lot of services people are selling to us as therapists. And so I want to walk you through all the tools I use, give you some information, some insight into why, and help you kind of think about the tools you might want to use. So if you haven't checked that out, you can go ahead and do that. It's on the channel. Let's see here. All right, so we got another question. It's a good one. I am new to this. Who do you recommend to create a website for my private practice? This is a really good question. And actually kind of can be a loaded question perhaps. So let me talk a little bit about websites and private practice. So let's just kind of talk about it this way. A website is always a good idea as a therapist to have one. It sounds like you're already on board with that. And first and foremost, the most basic level, just having a place on the internet where your practice lives, where people can read about it or look it up or find it. That's a website. They're going to be really helpful. I mean, think about any business that you go to now. If they didn't have a website, a little weird, right? So having a website is a really good idea. Number two, and this is kind of the other thing that a lot of people don't think about in the beginning, your website is actually going to be could be a huge referral source. And now this is going to involve a lot of work though. So SEO, search engine optimization, Google ads, This kind of thing. I mean, if you look into any of these programs that are like trying to tell you they can fill your practice in 30 days, or they can, make you, fill you up real fast with cash pay clients, they're usually basically saying that they're going to help you build a website that works. And it's not as simple as they make it sound. It's actually really hard. You have to, work on SEO, perhaps blogging. There's all sorts of strategies. But at the end of the day, that all happens through your website. So actually putting together a good website, investing time, energy, and resources into that is actually a good idea. I'm actually doing that myself now. So there are a lot of different places you can go. Now, I am currently working with a company called Counseling Wise. I'll leave a link down below in the description. I am just now in the middle of working with them. I have a Google ad campaign that they just launched for me. And they also wrote 2 landing pages for my website. That's the other thing. The pages have to be written in such a way that it kind of has a tone to it, so that it draws a reader in and actually has them kind of, wanting to book with your practice. There's like a lot to it. It's like what's written on your website, how it's written, where it's written. So there's a lot here. So again, a lot of companies are going to try to sell you a package or something like that. I am in the middle of working with this company, so I'm going to leave a long review about them once I'm done. However, so far they've been really good. They've been really reasonably priced. They're willing to answer a lot of questions. And I'm someone who asks a ton of questions before I sign up with someone. It's probably really annoying, but they've answered all my questions, which has been really cool. They're really responsive, and I really like, they don't try to push anything on you. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're not begging for your business. So I really appreciate that. So if you're interested in a good company to do a website for you, Counseling Wise, so far I recommend. But as far as long-term results, I'm waiting to see about that. But hopefully that answers your question. A great question here. And I see that other people have logged on and are perhaps with us now. Again, just here we are, just answering questions. So if you have any, just go ahead and put them down in the comment. I'll answer them. Whenever we have a little lull, feel free to do your notes, just hang out, grab a drink. But yeah, if you're just logging in and you're just seeing this, go ahead, drop your questions down below. We just answer them as they come in. It's a safe space to ask any questions, and hopefully I can point you in the right direction. Oh yes, and if you haven't been here before, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And for those of you who might not know, I also just a little while ago, I launched basically an online community. It's like a consultation group. So I don't always have time to go live. It's been a while since I've done it before. But now I've created this consultation group where if you want to interact with me directly, you want more access to kind of, responses and things like that, you can sign up for this group, $25 a month, no pressure. You don't have to, can cancel at any time. You can check it out. I'll leave a link to it down below, but it's a place where you can connect with me directly and ask a lot of questions. All right. So yeah, I see more people joining us. Welcome. Glad to have you here. We're just hanging out, answering questions. We've gone through a bunch. If you're coming in now and you want to see what we talked about before, this will be live a little later. But go ahead and leave your comments, your questions down below in the chat. Yeah, a lot of people don't know about them. I realize they're kind of like hidden, but worth checking out. They have a free consultation you can do with them. Let's see here. All right. I'm doing telehealth, but I would like to rent an office for a day. Do I need to update my CAQH? So this is a good question. I do think you're going to want to update your CAQH. I don't know if do you mean like you want to do telehealth for like a single day and then that's it? Are you doing virtual work while you're there? Are you seeing clients physically in that space? That's all going to be important. If you are seeing clients in that actual location, well then it is going to be important probably to update the CAQH. And if it's going to be something that you do ongoing, you definitely want to reflect that because now technically you have an office location. And so there'll be a section in the CAQH where you can input that. And that's a good thing. It's always good to have an office location that you can rent, and perhaps you can even use that address as your business address. But yeah, update the CAQH, always a good idea. What about Wix? This is a good question. This is kind of going back to the website thing. So Wix, Yeah. So basically, Wix is a good website builder. It's a website builder, right? And I use Squarespace myself. I think Wix is a competitor. Basically, what I'm looking for in a website builder is a couple things. One, is it easy to use? I think Wix probably is. Is it robust in features? So you don't want something so simple that you can't really do anything, right? Like Simple Practice, for example, has a website builder, but it's so minimal you can't really do much with it. It just kind of is like just sits there basically as your picture and a couple paragraphs. But something like Wix or Squarespace is going to give you this vibrant array of tools where you can like build pages, you can build buttons out, you can do all this, more than enough. So Wix is going to be like that too. And then thirdly, can you actually invite a moderator in? So if you hire an advertising agency or a place like Counseling Wise to help you, can they go in and kind of adjust things on your behalf? And I know Squarespace does it. I'm assuming Wix does too. I think Wix is probably totally fine. I see a lot of people using it. But yeah, totally. That's a good question. I would imagine Wix would kind of cover all three of those things. This whole idea of Regis, I don't know how you say that. I have heard of their company though. Rent an office for a day really blows my mind. So the couple of things about the in-person office spaces that I think are worth mentioning. So one is the whole idea of for some people being required to see clients in person. I know some nurse practitioners and medicating providers, there's a requirement. I think in New York State, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, but I have a colleague, and so there's kind of the idea people get frustrated with the requirement of needing to be in person. That's one thing, but then number two is when you get into the nitty gritty of marketing and you start to want to kind of advertise or run Google ads, or even aside from that, if you want to start a business entity or get paneled with insurance. So there's a couple of things here. You're going to need a physical address. Now, this is important because you don't want to you can technically use your home address, but most people don't want that being public information. Although people will say my address is public anyway, you definitely don't want it to be like the address that's listed on Google My Business, so people don't show up to your address like looking for therapy, right? So having a physical location is also going to help that. Now, places like Regis, they're helpful because they allow you to kind of rent basically ad hoc, like you don't have to rent for the whole year. So finding places where you can rent a space that's temporary but also gives you access to an address, like a physical building address, is going to be really helpful. So that's another reason why people are looking for that. So I think, and again, if you want to be paneled with insurance, you need a physical address. Places like iPostal One, which I actually used to make a video about, these are like virtual addresses, and PO boxes have never worked, but virtual addresses, they're starting to not work. People are starting to recognize that they're virtual addresses and they'll kind of deny them. So for example, if you do a Google My Business and you put an address listing on there and it's a virtual address, sometimes they'll call you and they'll want to FaceTime with you and see the address. And if it's like a Staples, it's not going to work. So this is why people are looking for, or it's a good idea to perhaps start looking for an address, a virtual office space, or an office space that's like in person like that. Let's see here. So we got another question. If you had approximately $10K to spend on marketing a cash-only business, what would be the best way to spend that money on marketing? Marketing consultants, marketing manager, Google ad expert, etc. This is a great question. So, I mean, it's a complicated question because there's a lot of different places you can go. The first thing I would probably do is set up a bunch of free consultations with different advertising companies or marketing companies that specialize with therapists, right? And start to get once you do enough free consultations with these companies, you actually start to get a sense of like what it entails. So for example, when I did a consultation with Counseling Wise, they spent 25 minutes for me, totally free, just talking to them about what I'm looking for. And they start to tell me what they do, right? That's one. They start to tell me about kind of their strategy. It's blogging, it's building SEO. They can do that all for me, right? And I had a couple others as well. And again, it's a little time consuming, but I started to understand like what exactly are these companies doing? And I started to learn, they're doing SEO. Everyone has a different SEO strategy, so no one company is going to be the same. So what I would do is I would start to kind of think about, but I guess before all that is like you definitely want to hire an expert. Now, a lot of times these experts you have to figure out if they're really an expert. But you're mentioning a couple things in the parentheses here: marketing consultant, marketing manager, Google ad. A lot of these places will actually do that for you. Like, they do all of that. That's why I would encourage, maybe set up 4 or 5 free consultations with, quote unquote professionals who are calling themselves experts in this. Now, a good way to kind of vet these places is, 1, read the Google reviews, and 2, if you go on Better Business Bureau, a lot of people don't go there. Better Business Bureau has a lot of reviews you can read as well. They're fairly raw, so that's a good place to go. And then if there's not many reviews, see if you can search Facebook groups and things. You can type in like marketing agency. You'll get a whole bunch of people who have used, different places. So my recommendation is set up those free consultations, get a sense before you spend any money about what it is that these companies are going to do for you. And then kind of think about where you want to allocate that, or to what company will best help you with the $10K that you might have to spend. Because, you might have a company that says spend $10K on Google ads, right? Or $10K on building a better website. So get a sense of a company first. And again, I have not drawn my full conclusions on counseling wise, but they will do all of this for you. Pretty reputable. But hopefully that helps point you in the right direction. And yeah, you're mentioning a cash only practice. So this is where, everything I just talked about kind of involves cash only. And when you're cash only, this is where it's going to be important to invest in marketing, advertising, Google ads, website, all that. So again, kind of goes back to finding a company who can really do it. Another one I've heard about, never used it. Never did a consultation with them, but Brighter Vision, I think it's called. They offer some monthly services. You might be able to set up a free consultation with them too. But those are a couple I've heard about. I'm just now myself getting into marketing more heavily. I have an insurance-based practice, so I don't, I get more referrals that way too, just naturally because we take insurance. But I'm now stepping into the arena of marketing. So these are some things to really think about. Great questions. I see more people have joined us. Hopefully you're listening in, finding this helpful. This is a safe space where you can just ask any questions about group practice, private practice, anything. I found it difficult to find a live person to talk to when I was starting, so I wanted to provide that space for people. And I'll hang out, basically, sorry, my camera just keeps cutting out. But I will hang out until questions stop coming in, all right? So feel free to keep asking, and I'll be checking my phone for emails and things. But I'm glad to be here with everyone. It's a rainy day here. I'm in New York City. It's a rainy fall day here. Let's see. All right, so I got another question via email. It won't pop up on the screen. I'll just read it to you. Someone asked, how do I get referrals to build my practice? Besides SEO, is there a way to get out there? So this is a good question. So people are always asking about building their practices. And this person asks beside SEO. So just to touch on SEO and Google ads and all that, like the marketing stuff. If you really want to grow and like start gaining like leads that don't require like being listed on Psychology Today and all these platforms, marketing in Google ads and SEO and all that is going to be huge. Now, a lot of people don't have the budget for that right off the bat, or it's overwhelming. You don't need it to start. But this is like, I want to take my next steps. I really want my practice to grow. I'm thinking about cash only. I don't want to rely on all these other resources. Google ads is going to be really helpful, and kind of Google marketing SEO, right? That's one thing. But if you're just looking to get out there, you want to start growing your practice, you're just kind of starting, or you're looking for more referrals, my rule of thumb is this. List your practice in front of as many therapy seekers as you possibly can, okay? So for example, and these are basic ones, Psychology Today, that's going to be one where a lot of therapy seekers go. Alma, a lot of therapy seekers are going there, their directory listing. ZocDoc, a lot of people don't like ZocDoc because they feel like it's really costly. But if you do some simple math and you calculate basically, how much it costs to be on ZocDoc. So basically ZocDoc will charge you per booking. So for example, let's say, and it's different for every state, but it can get up to like $70, $80. And you'll get charged that for anyone who books with you, even if they don't stick, right? So that kind of deters a lot of people, right? So let's imagine someone books with you on ZocDoc. and you get charged the $70, and you don't see that person, you still get charged the $70. Now, if you try that out for a month, let's say you get 10 referrals on ZocDoc, and I'm just making this up, 10 referrals in a month, and 7 of them stick, right? You would do the math. You would say, well, how much did it cost me to be on ZocDoc this month, right? And you would do, obviously, 10 times 70. I'm horrible at math, right? 700? Is that 700 or 7,000? I think it's 700. Yeah, I don't know. And then you say, well, how much money did I generate from the clients that came from ZocDoc? It would obviously be a lot more than that. So then you would kind of see, what is the difference? Is it worth it? But again, going back to the rule of thumb, list your practice in front of as many therapy seekers as you possibly can. So where people are looking for therapy, put your practice out there. And then kind of calculate the worth, the cost. How much does it cost to be on there? And what's the return? That always involves some trial and error. So you have to at least try it to see if it works. So this is going to be, so ZocDoc is good, right? These are the major ones. And then if you're looking for, these are like things that you can do, but they're like not going to be major bumps in referrals. You can network, right? You can do that. You can, reach out to people, but these are like really old school common ways, and they're good. I mean, reaching out to primary care doctors, that's all fine. But it's not going to be what you're really looking for. I think the biggest thing is being listed, and then really thinking about marketing is going to be big. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, great questions. Keep them coming in. For anyone who's new, welcome. We're just hanging out, answering questions here. Feel free to drop your questions down below. I don't think I've missed any questions. If I missed your question, please feel free to let me know. But I think oh my gosh, I missed a whole bunch. Sorry about that. Let me go back up to the top here. All right. What is the best way to build your client load? I kind of just answered that. So hopefully what I just said answered that for you. Let's see. Besides Alma, so I just mentioned those. ZocDoc, Psychology Today. You've mentioned Alma. There's a lot of others. There's another new one called Growth Therapy. I think it's new. Growth Therapy. I've heard of one called Choosing Therapy. But pretend you're a therapy seeker and look for therapy, like in your local area, wherever you are, and see what pops up, what directories pop up. Those are the directories you're going to want to be on, all right? I apologize, everyone. I missed some of these questions here, but I'm getting to them now. Here we go. Good afternoon. I'm working on my private practice. I'm only virtual, but multiple states, multiple platforms. Thoughts on TheraScribe for notes, Canva for website, and Ring Central for HIPAA phone? These are great questions. Let me see here. So TheraScribe for notes, I've actually never heard of it. It sounds kind of like an AI tool. My thought would be to find a place that you can, your EHR, your practice management tool, I would pick a platform like an EHR that kind of works for you. And then if TheraScribe is, let me look it up real quick. Just bear with me so I'm informed here. Okay, TheraScribe. What is this? Software by being helping psychologists. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it looks like TheraScribe is an EHR. So I actually have a video about what things to look for in an EHR because there's so many options out there, and I think a lot of them are fine. Let me leave the link down below to the video that talks to you all about the requirements that I think you should look for in an EHR. All right. For website, Canva. Again, I think there's a lot of options out there. I think if you're thinking about Canva, just make sure you can really kind of do SEO on there. It's customizable, and that you're able to make like multiple pages, landing pages, this kind of thing. I know Canva does a lot of design, but I didn't know you could actually host a website. I typically recommend like Squarespace. Someone mentioned Wix before for a website. And then for HIPAA compliant phone, Ring Central, that sounds fine as long as it's HIPAA compliant. There's really nothing special about that. One thing to keep in mind is you might not need a HIPAA compliant phone. In some states, all you require is at least the option of one HIPAA compliant method of communication. A lot of EHRs actually have that built in. So you might not need the phone. You can save yourself some money there. Just check. You might want to check with a lawyer briefly just to see what kind of communication you're required. But I know for us, we're just required one method of communication. And for me, that is built into my EHR. So I let clients know I am HIPAA compliant and I have a method of communicating with you that's HIPAA compliant, and it's this way. And it's the messenger built into my EHR. Okay. You're welcome. I hope that answered your question. Hopefully that was helpful. Let's see here. So let's see. I'll make sure I don't want to miss any more questions. It looks like I am missing some. All right, here we go. Do you know anything on group insurance billing? I have a supervisee under supervision I want to bill for with Aetna. Yes, I do know about this because I'm doing the same thing. So group insurance. So basically what you're asking is about incident to or supervisory billing, right? Now in New York, it's going to vary by state, but in New York, there are two insurers who currently allow this, Cigna and Aetna. Now you have to make sure that you follow their guidelines. And I actually just put out a video yesterday because Cigna just released their guidelines for supervisory billing. It's my most recent short. So go to my short section, click on it. It'll tell you all about that. Aetna also allows it. And actually they have it posted on their website. It's kind of hard to find. I'll leave a link down below. But you are able to bill Aetna for supervisory billing. Okay. But you want to make sure you just follow their guide. And their guides are really simple. Basically, I mean, I think there's, from what they published, and this is what I'm using, they basically want you to use your, like the supervisor, you're using your NPI, right? And now deep in the documentation, you might have different requirements for like what you're supposed to document. You know, do you have to be available? This kind of thing. So sometimes you might want to ask them beyond what they post online, which is like this simple requirement of using your NPI, what exactly they require of you as a supervisor. Some of them will say you need to be on call, you need to be accessible, you need to write the treatment plan. So just make sure you cover those bases, and it's always changing. So just send Aetna a quick email asking them what they require. But in the meantime, I'll send you what they have on their website so that you can read it for yourself, and at least you can refer back to that documentation. But in New York, Aetna does allow you to use do supervisory billing as well as Cigna. What about sending out flyers, getting a booth at an event, those types of things? These are great questions. In terms of the sending out flyers, you know, I would, I guess one thing to think about would be if we can find any kind of research. I would look for any research on the effectiveness of that overall, like as a whole. You know, what have other people's successes been? So a research phase, kind of looking into how effective has that been for others might be a great starting point. I don't think it's a bad idea. I actually think flyers still do work, as antiquated as people might think they are. It's also one that might not be so costly because you can print them out yourself and hand them out, or, you know, post them up. Again, if you can find a place where there are therapy seekers, this is the key, right? If there are therapy seekers and they see your flyer, that's great. You're getting yourself in front. I think flyers is a good low-cost method of actually advertising. Right? Getting a booth at an event, I don't think that's a bad idea either. Again, you're getting yourself in front of people. They get to see you and what you're all about. As long as that booth is where therapy seekers are, then that's going to be a great place to be, right? Or if you're in a place where you're, you know, for example, I do ADHD, right? I do a lot of work around that. If I was to be able to get a booth at maybe a fair where teachers go, for example, right? That might be helpful for me. I'd go there, I can talk about my practice and what I do. Boom, you get a whole bunch of referral sources. So the key is really thinking about, am I going to get in front of therapy seekers, right? Or people that are going to potentially refer to me. But I think things like getting a booth and flyers are actually really low cost. They could potentially be really low cost and might be worth it to try it. But do that research phase. I'm sure out there people have talked about it. You know, what have been other people's experiences with those methods? Oh, someone said they use Brighter Vision. Fantastic. It was a good investment. So there's some word of mouth referral. I've never used it, but that sounds good. Thank you. Let's see. With Regis, if you rent an office, you can use other Regis locations to meet with clients who cannot get to your location for a one-on-one, i.e. transportation issues. Oh, that's good to know too. Yeah, I mean, one thing I was looking for when I was looking for an office space for like, temporary rental or, kind of ad hoc renting was basically not so much about, where can I access the building, but do I get an address with this? And what does that look like? Can I use this as a business address? You want to ask that question. It's really important. And then from there, these benefits like being able to see clients somewhere else or, being able to switch office locations is really helpful. But that one question you really want to ask is, can you use this as a business address? Let's see. I might have missed you. Can you ask it again? I'm scrolling through. Some of them looks like I missed. Let's see. Headway. If you're asking if you can do supervisory billing through Headway or Alma, no. So you can, even if you're paneled with Aetna and Cigna on Headway or Alma, you can never use supervisory billing with Aetna or Cigna through Headway or Alma. You have to be paneled on your own. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, but maybe. And if it is, hopefully that helps you out a little bit. How do Google Ads work? This is a great question. Google Ads are a little bit complex, but just to put it simply, basically you create an ad campaign, and on your ad campaign, you're going to advertise like the way I'm doing it is you advertise a specialty or a service that you have in your practice. So one of our specialties is ADHD treatment. So our ad campaign is focusing on ADHD treatment, right? And so basically, if someone searches ADHD therapy near me, the Google ad is targeting a specific location, so a zip code. And then basically, I have an ad running, right? And then you create a budget for that ad. Typically, it's a daily budget or a monthly budget. And what begins to happen is there are other companies also running Google ads for the same exact keywords, right? So maybe it's ADHD or ADHD therapy. They're running these ads there. And then basically the people who are running ads for the same keywords, you're competing for clicks, right? So if someone has a bigger marketing budget, they're going to get more shown to more people, right? So for example, if someone has $1,000 budget per day, right? Their ad might get shown a lot more because they're willing to pay more per click. And that's the way Google Ads works. So every time someone clicks on your ad, you pay for it, no matter what, right? So if they click your ad and they just click right off, you end up paying for that click. And so then you're setting a budget basically to get your ad in front of as many people as possible. And then every time they click it, you end up paying for it. And so the bigger budget, the more clicks you are going to get, but you're basically bidding for clicks. Hopefully that makes sense. This is kind of how Google Ads work. So clearly the more money you can put into Google Ads, the more people might see it. But you also want to make sure your Google Ads are done correctly. Don't try to ad hoc it or do it yourself. I would advise hiring someone to help you. There's a lot of nuances here, keyword research and things like that. But this is essentially how Google Ads works. Now, the tricky thing with Google Ads, they make it easy to do it yourself. Like you can actually get on there and publish one, but you don't know the nuanced stuff behind it. So that's why it's helpful to hire a professional. I use Grow Therapy, Headway, Headspace, Alma. And I think you meant me. I'm pretty sure TheraScribe uses built-in Wiley planners. I think you're meant to say I'm pretty sure that Therapy Scribe uses built-in Wiley planners, inserts for notes. So a couple of things just to be warned about. So Wiley treatment planners are good, but actually if you start doing some research, sometimes their treatment plans are not sufficient for insurance providers. So if you ever get audited, and they say, let me see your treatment plan, and it's from a Wiley plan, and it's like one of those really simple ones, they might not take it. So do a little digging. Make sure that the Wiley planners meet the requirements of the insurers. And this is mostly in case of an audit. Now, the thing about Wiley, they make it super easy to make a treatment plan, like a couple clicks. But again, when I did some research on that, sometimes it doesn't pass an audit. So make sure that whatever version you're using would pass an audit. And so you can do some research into that, look on Facebook groups and things like that. I personally don't use the Wiley treatment planner. I actually have a template that was written by a lawyer to make sure it passes audits and all that. But I've heard that about Wiley, so just be a bit cautious about that. Awesome. I'm glad that that helps and makes some sense. I have both NPI 1 and NPI 2. Aetna has approved so far my NPI 1, which is my individual. Do you know if I can go ahead and bill for my supervisory under the NPI 1 until the NPI 2 is approved? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. I'm going to put a link down below to the supervisory billing stuff for Aetna. But basically, from my understanding, what is basically happening with supervisory billing through Aetna is because they said they allowed it and they've published that they allow it and they put the requirements online, we can kind of fall back on Aetna says that it's okay. But what they're basically saying is that you'll, like, let's say your supervisee sees the client, right? When you submit the claim, you're going to put your name and your NPI. So from a kind of an insurer standpoint, it looks like you saw the client. So you're basically assuming all the risk, all of that. But because Aetna says they allow it, and again, Cigna as well, and this is what they tell you to do. They're going to tell you to use your NPI and your name on the claim, and they're asking for the NPI 1, not NPI 2. NPI 2 is going to be more about a group practice and things like that. But actually, sometimes if you get paneled as a group practice, they won't panel LMSWs or provisionally licensed people. You're still going to have to do supervisory billing through the NPI 1. I think it's like that with Cigna. Hopefully that helps, clears things up. You were just saying that Headway was also a good way to gain clients. Okay, great, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you for clarifying. Apologize for misunderstanding. Let's see. All right. So this usually highlights questions that I've missed, but it's not doing that. So I'm missing some. Let me let's see here. Okay, so same in New Jersey and with Cigna and Aetna. I think you're referring to the supervisory billing. So it looks like in New Jersey they also allow it. Thank you. That's really helpful to know. Awesome. Let's see. Why can't I scroll up? All right. Am I missing anyone's questions so far? Let's see. So my end, it looks like I've clicked on every question so far. I think we've got most of them. Let's see. All right, Robert, have a good one. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you found it helpful. Hope to see you again. All right. So yeah, I'm happy to keep hanging out for a little bit longer. For those of you who are just new joining us, please feel free to keep adding questions down below. I'm trying my best not to miss any. For whatever reason, it wasn't highlighting some of them. Yes. Yeah. If you could clarify, that would be helpful. A lot of things that we're talking about, whether it be even Google ads or like insurance stuff, a lot of it varies state by state. So if you're able to clarify what state, that's really great. Do another quick scroll here. Did I miss anything? No. So far, I've got everything. I'm going to check my email, see if more questions have come through there. All right. Not yet. Oh, here we go. Another question. What program are you using right now that puts your questions on the screen? Very fancy. Yeah, this took me a little while to figure out. It's actually not a program. It's a plugin for Google Chrome. I forget what it is. It's a little complex. It's not hard to do, but it's like it was hard to find. I'll leave a link down below to the video that taught me how to do it. Okay. Yeah, it's a weird plugin, not a program. And then I use OBS. This is called, this is how I like stream and do these live streams. So I'll do that. just give me, yeah, I'll do at the end of the video, I'll put it down. I have to look for it. So I'll do that at the end. I'll put it in the description. Okay. All right, just checking email here. So far, we've got all of the questions answered. And if you're new, just joining us, glad to have you here. Please feel free to, ask more questions. And then also, let's see if you want to subscribe to the channel, it'd be really helpful. Really helps out. Let's see. I have multiple states and soon to be, wow, that's a lot of states there. That's great. You'll be able to reach a lot more people. When it comes to being licensed in multiple states, it's just it can be complex to stay on top of all the different laws and licensing things. It'll be really good to be in touch with a solid kind of healthcare attorney that can answer your questions if they ever come up. I'm glad that we're able to get licensed in multiple states. It used to be really complex, especially and also tell your accountant, because sometimes there's tax things. So for example, I'm licensed in New Jersey in addition to New York. And when I told my accountant that, I had to take a record of every client I saw that lived in New Jersey and then separate that from the clients who were in New York. So just make sure you're keeping record of all that stuff. And then, I mentioned this in the beginning, but if you enjoy this, you find this helpful, I am not always able to, amazing, really cool to get, licensed in all those states. A lot of hard work too. I'm not always able to do these lives. I like to do it when I can. But if you find it helpful to interact directly, have a place where you can get questions answered like this. I recently developed a consultation group. It's all online. I moderate it. I respond to every single question that comes through. I'll leave a link to that down below. It's called the consultation group. That one is $25 a month, no commitment, nothing like that. But no pressure. You can check it out if you find this to be helpful. Hi, let's see. I see you have YouTube. Yep, I do have a YouTube channel. And let's see, do you feel it helps with your streaming income? People have been asking me to start a channel. I actually just made a video all about this, about how to make money on YouTube. So I'm gonna leave that link down below in the description. I want you to check that out. It actually answers all these questions here. So I'm gonna leave that down below. It's not so much about making money in the beginning. It's actually, it's more so about providing resources to people. But if you're looking for a way to like a side hustle, this won't be it. At least not for a long time, right? But I want you to check out that video. I think it'll be really, really helpful for you. All right. And just give me 1 second. I actually have to step away just for a second. Keep dropping your comments in. I will be right back. right, let's see. Matt, would you recommend I go ahead with GMB in a far away state at a rented office, then drop everything to field the GMB confirmation call or Zoom call? And I go ahead with GMB in a far away state at a rented office. Could you just clarify? I'm a little bit confused about what you mean. What do you mean? What's GMB? Could you just clarify? I'm happy to answer. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see. Yep, no worries. I'm going to leave a link down below. You can take a look at that. Let's see. Oh, I need the high-tech getup you have. Step away music. Love it. I look forward to the links for this plugin. Yeah, the plugin's really cool. I'll leave a link down below for that. Let's see. Yeah, so I mean, and I also have videos about the setup itself. But I'm using a mirrorless camera, and then that's pretty much it. The mirrorless camera is the big thing, and a light, actually, like a simple light.
Excuse me?
Yep. Sorry for the interruptions. Let's see. All right. Have I missed anything? I don't think I'm missing anything. Check my email real quick. Let's see if we've got anything else coming in. If you're just joining, feel free. I'm going to hang out for another 5 minutes. That'll get us to a full hour today. Let's see here. So let's see. Yeah, any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat down below. Again, we'll hang out for another hour. Another 5 minutes. Also, there's some work going on in the other room. You're going to hear some maybe loud drilling. Sorry about that. Do you use a particular business software to keep all the expenses for the CPA? Yeah, so he actually recommended I use QuickBooks. When I was a solo provider, I was not using anything. I was using Excel. But once I transitioned to a group practice, I was using QuickBooks. So that's to manage like expenses, the accounting, all that kind of stuff. If you're like hiring people and you're trying to do payroll, I use Gusto for that. And if you have more questions about this stuff, the video I just released today is actually all about the services I use. But yeah, so CPA, keeping track of stuff is going to be QuickBooks. All right, we're all caught up on questions from email. Looks like we're all caught up here as well. All right, we'll hang out for another minute or two. But it's been really great to hang out with you guys. And again, every so often I'll be doing these. This is, I think, the 13th one, actually. So it's pretty cool to do this and answer questions. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. That is helpful. Watch the recent video that just came out today. And then for those of you who ask questions and I refer to other videos, that will all be down below in the description. And then again, if you're interested, you can check out the consultation group. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. All right, so we're going to go another 45 seconds here. All right, if you have any final question, put it in the chat. If not, don't worry, there'll be more of these more of these videos. Nope, you reworded your question. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. This is the original one, but I don't see the new one. Would you mind just typing in what GMB stands for? I'll wait to see if you're able to type that in, the GMB. If you could just let me know what that is. Google My Business. Thank you. I should have known that one. Google My Business. Would you recommend I go ahead with Google My Business in a faraway state at a rented office, then drop everything to field the Google My Business confirmation call or Zoom call? Okay. So I don't think that the Google My Business it's not like going to call you randomly, like on the spot, but they're basically going to want to call. One of the options is to call to confirm where you are. I think they'll also let you send a postcard or something, but they're basically going to make you, sometimes it's a video call. So I would just do it where, would you sorry, there's a lot of drilling going on. I'm sorry about that. Would you recommend I go ahead with Google My Business in a faraway state? Well, the other thing is you have to make sure that the Google My Business, you want it, it's obvious people from that location, like wherever your business address is, like the surrounding area, that's the people you're trying to drive to your practice, right? So Google My Business is meant to be very local for therapists, like in a community. So, you want to make sure that it's in a place that you're trying to get clients from. But if you're someone who's licensed in multiple states, and I don't know, you live in New York, but your Google My Business is for, I don't know, Kansas, for example, that might be really difficult because you're not really going to be able to get there, right? But if it's not too far, setting up the Google My Business is always good. It's free, and it's an easy way to begin getting referrals. But also consider where, and you can really, where do you want the Google My, and you can have multiple addresses too on Google My Business. But you want to try to make the Google My Business like pretty consistent. So if this is an address that you can keep for a while, then perhaps it's worth doing. Hopefully this gives you some clarity, some insight. But yeah, thank you for I should have known Google My Business. Cool. All right. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. We know we got some viewers still on. If you guys want more questions answered, feel free to leave comments in this particular video. It's going to go live in just a little bit. You can email me. You can join the consultation group where I interact with people directly. But it's been really great answering these questions for you. I'm going to do this again hopefully soon. Follow me on YouTube is where I do most of my stuff. You'll see stuff there. But yeah, it was awesome hanging out with you guys, and I will see everyone soon. Have an awesome rest of your weekend.